Yeah. Good morning. We start a Maamar today. The Maamar was said in 5732, 1971, on December 31st, 1971. Actually, it was January 1st, 1972. It was on Shabbat day that was said. Happens to be my birthday at the same time because I was born at night. So the Rabbi said this following Maamar. The Maamar is discussing the blessing that was given by Yaakov to his son, Yosef. I gave you an extra portion over your brother, which I took from the Amorite with my sword and my bow, an arrow. The Gemara asked a question, did he really take it with a sword and arrow? That's how he did it. It says, I will not fight with my bow and arrow. I don't trust my bow. And my arrow, I don't trust my arrow. And I do not put my salvation in the hand of the sword. So what are we referring to? So this is alluding to prayer. The sword is prayer. The arrow is beseech. And this is what the Aramaic translation says, Bitzluti bebauti, with my prayer and beseeching. So we have to understand what is the connection between the arrow and the sword with prayer and beseeching God. And why is it that Yosef, out of all the tribes, is the one that got this? And gave him that extra portion, more than the other brothers. And besides that, it says, I gave you a portion over your brothers. This is a way that Yosef has an advantage over his brothers. Not only that he's equal to them. As well, we have to understand why isn't prayer expressed in a direct way? There are 10 different expressions of prayer, as it says in the Midrash. Why do you have to use sword and arrow when really you could say that sword and arrow is the opposite of the meaning of prayer? To the extent that the Gemara, the Talmud, has to ask, why are you saying sword and prayer? And then we have to answer. You see that it's confusing. Besides that, it says already that they go with chariots and horses, which is talking about the nations of the world, but we call upon the name of God. And as well, it says in Zechariah, not with valence, and not with power, only with my spirit, God says, you will be able to conquer. So we see that sword and arrow are really the opposite of prayer, so we don't know why is it that Yaakov Avinu expresses himself in such a way. To understand this, we have to understand what's said by the Alter Rebbe, the Mittler Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, and the Rabbi Sienu, which follow. That there's a difference between the forefathers and the Shvatim, the tribes. Yeah.
Is this the first time that we're using the concept of sword and whatever for prayer?
For prayer?
I mean, like all of a sudden, out of the Killer Blue, you came up with this, and I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, it's the first time.
It's the first time that.
Yeah, in Torah. The first time that we refer in the Torah, in the Chumash.
And it's the Talmud that said that we're discussing with prayer then?
So it's a Talmud that explains that what it really alludes to is prayer and beseeching God.
And how did we get to that reasoning? How did the Talmud get to that reasoning? Do you know?
That's
what we're going to find out.
We're going to find out a few things.
Okay.
So we continue. And what happens is we know that there's a difference between the forefathers and the tribes. The forefathers are three, Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And their service is connected to every Jew. Every Jew is the heir of the forefathers. But the different tribes, we know each one represents another level. Shimon is through hearing, Reuven is through seeing, Yehuda is through surrender, and the same way, Yosef is it's another category altogether. So to understand this, we have to understand what it says in the verse in Tehillim. Shesham alu shevatim, there the tribes elevated themselves, the tribes of Yudke. We find that the tribe's service is a service of elevation. They elevate themselves. Their service is the service of prayer. But concerning Yosef, there's another expression, it's milmala lemata, it's from above to below. As it says that Yosef went down to Egypt. And it doesn't say not only did he go down to Egypt, which means it's about drawing down something, not about elevating. And it's true that the word shevet, the word tribe, refers to a flying star, and the flying star normally goes from up to down. The word shevet could mean kochav al-shabit, which means a flying star. But really, in the reality of this world, that's their service of elevation. So they elevate. Yosef Atzadi goes down to Egypt, and not only goes down to Egypt, the word for Egypt there is not Mitzrayim, but Mitzrayim to the depth of Egypt, to the lowest level. Whenever there's a hey at the end, like the heavens and the earth, and it says Shamayim Ma, not only Shamayim, or Arza, not only Eretz, we're talking about the lowest level or the highest level. So he went to the lowest level of the nakedness of the land, which is Egypt. So in general, going up or going down is the difference there is between prayer and Torah. Concerning prayer, which is the service of the tribes, it's just like the ladder going down from below to up, going up the ladder. You start with Hodu, before that you even have Modani, which is a concept of reckoning, or the concept of surrender. And then you start to contemplate on the greatness of God, and you go from step to step till you come to a level of complete annulment before God, avde kamemare, just like a servant before his master. But the service of Yosef is another one. It's a drawing down from above to below. Yeah, from above to below, this is the concept of Torah. As it says in chapter 4 in Tanya, that the Torah went down from level to level till it came down to the things which are the physical things and physical situations of this world, in order to establish what is pure, what is impure, what you should do, what you should not do, how you elevate through doing good and positive and active, and how you elevate the negative by refraining from doing and pushing away. And that's what it says, that through the study of Torah, a person becomes a king. What does he becomes a king? He becomes a master. As it says, who are our kings? The rabbis. The king said he's able to uproot the mountain, which means that through Torah, a person is able to be a master over the physicality of this world. There's a famous story of the Ragachover. The Ragachover, which was a tremendous, tremendous genius, he was in Russia and he received 2 tax bills. So he said, this tax bill I'm paying, this tax bill I'm not paying. I looked at him and said, well, what are you talking about? He said, this tax bill according to Torah is something that you have to pay. The other tax bill according to Torah is something you don't have to pay. Within 3 weeks, the second tax bill was annulled for the whole country. which means that when you are a master of Torah, since the Torah is able, it comes down from a higher level all the way to this level, to this the level of this world, this reality. And it's there to clear and elevate this reality. It has a power to change reality. Yeah. And this is how you're able to elevate the world and clarify the world and elevate the sparks and make a home for Hashem down here. Make a home for God. And this is too the power. This is what gives the fuel, the power, the energy to the Shvatim, to the tribes to be able to elevate the world. To elevate, to go and pray properly. As it says in the Gemara, in the Talmud of Brachot, that Abba Binyamin used to ask that his prayer should follow right away his awakening, which means there shouldn't be an interruption. First prayer, and then Torah, because the Torah that follows prayer is of a higher nature, a higher level. And this is what it says as well in Sefer HaBa'ir, which is brought down in the Zohar, that David HaMelech, who is the most pleasant and ultimate singer of the Jewish people, would connect the Torah of above with Hashem. Because he was the one who knew how to pray, which is to sing to God, which is the concept of prayer. He had the power to connect Torah with Hashem. This is what we're going to be explaining. Let's continue. This is what it says. Yosef came down to Egypt, which is the whole concept of Torah, because the Torah shows the path to man when he is in the reality of this world. Even in a place of Egypt where the Yetzer Hara is, from starting with the fact that the neshama comes down to the body. As we know what it says in Tanya, that every Jew has two souls, and the second soul is a part of godliness from above, really, and it comes from the depth of Hashem, the depth of His breath, which the soul came down from a high roof to a very deep pit. This is what we say every morning. God, the soul that you put in me is pure. It's referring to the level of purity of the soul, the way it's in the world of emanation, the world of Atzilut. And this, which it says, the soul that you gave me comes before the words is pure. That's even a higher level. It's the level of the soul, the way you gave me. And afterwards, we go from you gave me is pure, that's Atzilut, the world of emanation. Then it goes down to the world of formation. You created it, you formed it, and you blew it into my nostrils. So this soul, which natata, you gave from your giving, be inside of me, which means in the physical body of man, in this lowly world that there's nothing lower than it, where man is lower even than all the other creation. Why? Because when everything was created, they were created in sync physical and spiritual vitality were created in sync, which means everything was created with a purpose. But when man was created, his body was created first as afar mina adama, as a as how do you call it, as dust from the earth, and it didn't have any purpose. The purpose only came after God blew into his nostrils a breath of life, as it says in the first Maamar in Torah Or. Which means that we're even lower than mineral life and inanimate life. Because mineral life was created with a purpose. And the purpose of mineral is to elevate itself in the vegetation which grows, and the vegetation to go into something which is more life, which is the animal life, and animal life to go even to a higher purpose, to become man. And the fact that mineral becomes a part of vegetation because of animal, it's something which is outside of itself. It goes into a realm which is outside of itself. But by the man, the soul becomes one with the body. We know that when you have things which are in sync, built in sync together at the same time, you have the life and the physical body, the spiritual vitality in the physical body. In one word, God says there should be birds and fish and so on and so forth. There is a balance, a perfect balance between them. By us, the body is the lowest and the soul is of the highest nature, because they're not built to be together. It's the highest level of godliness going into the lowest level of being. But what is the purpose of the body? The purpose of the body is not that it should become a soul, but rather they should become one with the soul. Not to go out of something which is outside of itself. We'll stop here for today.